Who knew that rum was the favourite drink in Scotland before Scotch whisky took off? Scots have blended, aged, bottled, traded and supplied equipment and expertise to the rum industry for centuries. So it's time to find out more. Let's dive in. Hello, Hendo here, and welcome to Scotland's Rum History. About a decade ago, I was at a whisky tasting when the brand ambassador revealed from their archives there were 30 rum distilleries operating in 1830s Glasgow. As a rum enthusiast, it piqued my interest. I'm sharing this video because many people still don't know Scotland's history in the rum industry. When I became a global brand ambassador in rum, I went to share these stories, and still surprises me how many don't realise how deep Scotland's roots are in the rum trade, especially when I worked in France. My city, Glasgow, had an operating rum distillery in the 1680s. Yes, the 1680s. By the 19th century, Scots were world leaders in blending Caribbean rums, aging, bottling and trading rum. Not only that, the manufacturing of machinery for some of the Caribbean's most famous rum brands that you see today. Mastering the art of whisky blending had roots in 17th century tea blending by greengrocers, which moved to rum, then to whisky in Scotland. 1680 was the first known Glasgow rum distillery at Easter Sugar House, and the first sugar refinery in Greenock started in 1765. So rum and sugar. At the height of the triangular trade, Glasgow had quicker sailing routes on the Atlantic trade winds, ahead of other UK ports. This was crucial. Tate and Lyle, famous, the largest sugar refiner, brought raw sugar cane from the Caribbean to Greenock outside Glasgow, Scotland, along with Liverpool, refined 50% of the world's sugar at the time. Ports in Scotland prospered, Edinburgh and Leith and Dundee, but Glasgow especially became a sugar capital, centre of commerce in the Industrial Revolution, which included supplying the British Navy and rum, but also the Atlantic slave trade. Ships left Glasgow carrying goods that were then exchanged for slaves in Africa that would go on to the Caribbean. Written in 1807, rum was the spirit almost exclusively drank in Scotland. The duty was less, and imported rum was regarded as desirable, exclusive, and in Glasgow rum spread with popularity in clubs like the Pig Club, where the Glasgow Punch bowl drink was popular. In 1819, a recipe for Glasgow rum punch: sugar, a lemon, a wine glass of rum and 3/4 a tumbler of water per person. And the famous 1862 Jerry Thomas Bartender's Guide, the original mixologist, a Glasgow punch recipe, calls for old Jamaica rum. But by then, the spirit of rum in Scotland had fallen out of favour. In the 1820s, there were unfavourable duty rises for rum. Beer and gin were cheaper. West Indies rum, who had the monopoly on rum imports to the UK market, was hit hard. Scotland and Ireland the worst, paying more duty on the number of gallons deposited at their docks. Scotch whisky would start to see a rise, with distilleries being legalised in the 1823 Excise Act. Then the Coffee continues still, introduced in the 1830s, would see efficiencies and change in style from the popular heavy pot distilled Demerara rum from Guyana, and Scottish distilled blended Scotch whisky became much better made product, more widespread availability and more favourable taxes. In 1833, the Slave Emancipation Act would eventually phase the Caribbean slave trade out, the sugar production. By 1850s, European sugar beet industry had threatened the Caribbean sugar economy, and they would start to switch to making rum. British Caribbean rum had to also switch trading partner, the American Civil War, to focus on the British market. But by around 1860, Scotland was switching to Scotch whisky. Now to Scots bottling Caribbean rum. There are many producers over the time. William Cadenhead, a wine and spirits merchant, was founded in Aberdeen 1842. Scotland's oldest independent bottler, had been bottling rum since that time in Aberdeen. Former owner Robert Duthie, Cadenhead's nephew, was known for bottling quality rums in the early 1900s. Cadenhead's was bought in 1972 by J.A. Mitchell and Co., who own Springbank Distillery today and still blends and bottles Caribbean rums. Imported aged Demerara pot distilled rum from Guyana was a long-time favourite with Scots, and still today, for its rich, deep molasses taste. The Scottish influence has a dark side. Highland families going for wealth moved to British Guiana in colonial times. To learn more about this, read a book called Slaves and Highlanders by David Alston. It really reveals Scots as overrepresented middle managers and enforcers, instilling fear among the enslaved population there. A well-known back bar brand staple in Scotland is OVD rum. Was first blended and bottled in 1838 in Dock Street, Dundee in Scotland. When British Guiana was a new colony, George Morton had bought casks, had seen the ships arriving at port and went on to bottle the brand. It's now owned by William Grants today. In 1861, Lang's Jamaican rum was originally imported to Glasgow from the Caribbean. Lang Brothers banana rum, very popular, won gold medal at the Edinburgh International Exhibition in 1886. It's now owned by Ian MacLeod Distillers and they've relaunched recent years. As is Robert Watson's Demerara rum, which goes back to 1933, a Navy style dark rum, a blend of Guyana and Barbados rums. Modern day independent bottler of rum, Hunter Leng, with its Kill Devil range. And there's a raft of craft rum bottlers using Caribbean rum to age and blend in Scotland today. And also you see many Scotch whisky brands that own rum brands. Another Scottish influence in the rum industry was and still is the industrial engineering, steam engine, sugar mills, mechanical machinery over the years. Today you'll see Scottish made pot stills and other equipment all over Caribbean famous rum distilleries. Forsyths of Rothes with origins 1890, pot, copper stills makers, and Worthy Park Estate in Jamaica, Appleton Estate, J. Wright and Nephew, Jamaica. I saw at Foursquare Distillery on Barbados, the site, the sugar mill that goes back centuries. The tower was made in Glasgow, Scotland, and St Nicholas Abbey also in Barbados. The bricks fired all over the ground with several Scottish town names on them. Engineering, shipbuilding, railways, Robert Stein's patented continues still 1828. Sugar mill machinery, 19th century industrial revolution. Scots perfected the art of pot distillation, its mechanisms, line arms, condensers. Scots were improvers in efficiency. They were exporters, innovators, as well as fickle traditionalists. The art of distillation and blending maturation is not just in whisky. Scotch whisky can thank rum in Scotland in the early days for paving the way. It's worth watching. I highly recommend this YouTube video with a deep dive from the Scottish Rum Festival 2020. More details on it. Scotland's Rum History with Dave Broom, Dr. Stephen Mullen and Peter Holland. So So this serves as an introduction to the topic. I'll likely add more videos. I'll have some videos you can watch more on the rum industry. Drop a note in the comments if you've come across Scottish distilling equipment or engineering that you see in rum distilleries across the Caribbean, other parts of the world. Welcome your feedback on the subject. I hope it was useful to you in some way, and until next time, thanks very much for watching. Slán